Hi there, it's the 9th, I think, of February 2014, and yeah, I've just watched three TV news programs and listened to one on the radio where they were talking about the flooding, and all four of these news programs just infuriated me. And the reason for my infuriation is, if you're not aware that in the last sort of month or so, maybe last 2 months really, southern England has been under a deluge of rain, and there's been flooding pretty much from the entirety of southern England, from Cornwall to Kent. I don't think there's a county which hasn't been in the news because of flooding. On the news there's people discussing why this has happened, what should have been done about it. There's people talking about dredging rivers and why weren't rivers dredged. More sensible people talking about the importance of keeping upland areas forested so they become a more efficient soak away for rain that falls on them, rather than that rain just running off, going straight down valleys and into the river systems. Yeah, some of those things might have alleviated the flooding, but the bottom line is this is climate change that's caused this. This is a predicted consequence of climate change, and on these four news programs there was absolutely no mention whatsoever of climate change. But anyway, the title of this video, which is aimed to be a little bit provocative, I suppose, but I see a lot of stuff on YouTube in particular. There's a lot of atheist movements where they're constantly having a go at religious people for their beliefs and telling them how stupid they are and telling them that they're deluded. But really my argument is that most people are deluded. Most people have absolutely no concept of what is actually going on this planet right now, and the recent floods in the UK are a great example of that, where people are looking for every reason they can, blaming whoever they can, and completely failing to accept the reality of what is actually happening. But regardless of whether you believe in human-assisted climate change or climate change at all, there's a whole host of other problems going on too that do threaten our future. I'm having more difficulties with my camera, so I apologise if any of this is out of focus. Like I said, there's a whole host of other problems with the state of the global ecology, aside from climate change, that you should be worried about. And just to give you just one example, the oceans. The oceans are acidifying because of CO2 dissolving in them. When you dissolve CO2 in the oceans, it makes them more acidic, and this is certainly happening. It's been measured, it's going on. The marine ecology itself, it's not just collapsing, it's already collapsed in the last 100 years. Most fisheries have reduced their productivity, to put it in economic terms, by at least 90%. Some are gone entirely. There's no fishery in the world which remains unexploited. They've all been fished, most of them to the point of collapse, and there's large areas of the ocean which are effectively ecologically extinct. The ecology is gone. Then you've got runoff from agriculture going into places like the Gulf of Mexico, and this results in nutrients going into the sea, creating microbial blooms, algal blooms and explosions of microbial life that live off these nutrients. And what these microbes do is they take all the oxygen out of the water, nothing eats them, they go to the bottom. When they die, they decay, they kill the bottom of the sea. A statistic I heard the other day was that an area the size of Texas every year becomes ecologically dead in the world's oceans. So, you know, that's just one aspect of what we're doing to the planet, and there's loads other, but I won't go into them all because otherwise this video will be an hour long. But yeah, we've got huge problems, we really have. And yeah, this is kind of why I feel this frustration with, well, not just atheists personally, but everybody, but I'm just picking on atheists for the hell of it, really, because there's, as I said, there's a vociferous atheist community online who spend a lot of time trying to convince the religious that they're wrong. What I wonder is how many of those atheists are aware of the state of the planet, and are they taking any action about it? And well, from what I see in the world around me is no, they're not. The vast majority of them aren't aware of it, and they are equally as deluded as any religious person is. In fact, I'd argue there's some religious people who, although they may be acting from a point of view of religious belief which may well be nonsense, some of them, for instance, the Amish people in America, if anyone's going to survive the apocalypse, it's going to be people like that, people who are already living without oil and already have their structure of their society set up to cope with that. So yeah, the first part of this video that I wanted to address was if you're an atheist and you claim to be completely rational, then wake up and see what's happening and take action. But similarly, religious people, yeah, there's an awful lot of you who are completely deluded. At least atheists generally approach the world from a scientific point of view and have a better grip on reality, quite simply. But yeah, I watched a YouTube video the other night which was talking about imminent collapse, and I thought it was going to be the usual kind of right-wing paranoid nonsense, but it's actually all about real stuff that's going on, collapse of agriculture that's happening, the depletion of fresh water, stuff like that, general ecological problems on a global scale. And yeah, these things are really happening. But then when it came to the solution, what they were saying was, read the book of Revelations and all this is predicted in Revelations, which is a little bit tenuous, but you could argue it's predicted in Revelations. Here comes the rain again, back to the flooding. Pretty much their course of action was believe in God more, go to church more, be a better Christian, and you'll be fine. Yeah, that's not taking action at all, that's just passively sitting back and saying, well, I believe in this, therefore I'll be alright. Not really my problem to actually do anything about it. Now, yeah, I went to a school where I was taught on a daily basis that Jesus came down from the sky or whatever happens, and he died for us, and he is the Son of God, and all that stuff. And I was taught this as fact in the same way that I was also taught 1 and 1 equals 2 is fact. And so yeah, it's just kind of been drummed into me from a young age. I do remember bits and bobs from what we were told in assemblies, and one which springs to mind is there's some parable about 3 servants, not the Life of Brian version of the parable, but the real one in the Bible, that talks about hold on, I've just got to open a gate. Yeah, so there's this parable in the Bible about these 3 servants, and their master sends them off, gives them all some money, and sends them off to do whatever they want to do with the money, and then come back and see him at some point in the future to tell them what they've done. And yeah, one of them goes out and he manages to lose all his money, and another one goes out and he manages to make his money into more money, and the other one just takes the money and buries it in the ground, and he brings it back to the master, expecting the master to be pleased because at least he hasn't lost the money. But the master isn't pleased because he didn't do anything. He just buried the money and took no action, and the world carried on without him participating in it. Yeah, the meaning of this is, it's quite apparent really, but when you apply this to Christians, or I think you could apply this to most religions. You could certainly apply it to Islam and Judaism. I assume you think you're the good guys. If you are the good guys and your God is the true God and is a good God and a loving God, then surely when it comes to the environment, you should be doing everything you can to help protect it, preserve it, stop the destruction that is happening to our planet. I'd argue that it's your duty to do that as someone who holds a religious belief that purports to be doing good in the world. Yeah, you might be the servant who went out and lost all his money. You might be the servant who made more money with the money he was originally given. But when I see people sitting back and saying, well, it's all right because I'm a Christian, therefore I'm going to go to heaven, so it doesn't matter if the world is crashing around all over the place, then you are being the servant who buried his money and did nothing. And it seems to me, from what I learned at school about Christianity at least, God would not approve. God wants you to do the right thing. And if you look at the environment and what's going on, if you take an honest, clear look, listen to the people who know what they're talking about, then things are in a really bad state. And as far as I'm concerned, the more people on board who are doing something about it, the better. And that's pretty much it. And to end with, let's go and say hello to some cows again.